So this is our day 3 on our Selenium Java Cucumber CI course. And today we will talk about web elements and locators. So yesterday also we were talking about this thing only, but in continuation there are a lot of things to learn today. So we saw that about ID, through ID you can search an element if it is present. Through class name you can search. Through linked text, through partial linked text, through tag name also you can search. Today we'll talk more about Xpath and CSS selector. For that I am taking one of the example which we gave as practice to everyone. Was one assignment I gave like 1 month back, I guess. Let me open it. So that one was one of the page we were trying to create on our own. So all new people who have joined, the assignment was related to HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, where you have to create this registration form which will have one text box, let's say username, and there is an address text area, then there is a gender selection, then there is a city selection from this drop down, then there is a submit button. So the functionality was actually, if somebody will provide the name here as a username, let's say, and once someone will click it, then there should be one text. So here it is saying me welcome testology. So whatever name I will put it here, that should be displayed here in one label. Another functionality was, if somebody will put the balance, let's say 13,000 here, and if somebody will put that they want to withdraw 4,000 rupees out of 13,000 rupees, and once someone will click, it should display me the amount here. So as of now, it is not implemented. So I'm still waiting for people to submit this assignment. This assignment I gave on the very first day when we started this session. So one or two of them have completed it, but I'm still waiting for the people to submit this. Okay. So this is a overall functionality, and it's a good practice to learn about HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Now the same web page we are using to understand something. Let's say, so today we want to understand about Xpath and CSS selector. So let's understand what is Xpath. So Xpath is address. Address in HTML DOM structure. Okay. So XPath is kind of address for a particular element. XPath is like address for an element. So for example, if we see this web page, obviously it has some kind of code behind it, some kind of HTML code behind it. And I'm opening that code. This is the particular code which is present behind that website. And I'm not going to the script part. We will just understand about the body part. So here is the body where it is saying BG color is yellow, and then there is a header registration. So if you see here, because of that, this registration is visible as header. Then there is an anchor tag. There is a learning Selenium text, right? So because of this, this is visible here. Okay. And then there is a If you see here, there is a username written as a text, and then there is input type is equals to text, ID is equals to uname. Some kind of element is here. This is particularly text box. So this is showing me one text box. Then there is one text area. So this is a text area. It's not a normal text box. So this is created because of this code. And then there are 3 radio buttons, and that code is written here. If you want to create a radio button, you can write it like this. And then there is one drop down. Drop down is like select tag. So when you write like this in HTML, this will create one combo box or option box, we say, or drop down, we say. Then there is a button with color blue in the background. So that button is this one. Okay. Input type is equals to button, value is equals to submit. There is some ID. Then there is one, if you see, there is a paragraph. So this one is the paragraph which says www dot dot dot. But then there is some code I have written. What it does is whatever you write here and click on submit, it appends the welcome dot 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 to the particular name whatever you will provide here. So if I write Nitesh here and I click on the submit, it will say welcome Nitesh. So that there is a code behind it. Okay. Then there is one current balance text, and then there is a text box. Then again there is a text box to withdrawal amount, and there is a withdraw money button. So that code is written one by one here. If you see that there is one text box, this one, and then there is another text box, this one. Let me little bit make it zoom out. So then there is again a button. Okay. And then there is another paragraph. So it's a very small, just 73 line code for this particular user interface. Okay. So let's assume that we want to automate this. Means there is a test case that put the username here and click on submit and check whether this welcome Nitesh is visible or not. So the test case is very simple. Let me note down the test case. So test case is open page. Obviously page means web page here. And then specify name and click on submit. Welcome message be displayed with the name provided, right? Whatever name you have provided, that name should be visible. So it's a very simple test case: opening a web page, putting the name, clicking on the submit button, and once you click on the submit button, then welcome message should be displayed with the name whatever user has provided. Okay. So to automate this, first of all is I have to open this. And so let's write a fresh code today. I'm going here. How to see this project explorer view? Always work on the project explorer view, right? Don't work on package explorer view. So there are two kind of view: package explorer, project explorer. So I'm closing the package explorer. How you can get this view? You can go to the window, show view. Here you will get project explorer. So that will give you project wise view. Okay. So I am just copying this two lines. So let's create a new class today in Selenium practice. So we are making a new class Xpath and CSS selector demo. Okay, so this is our Java class where we are writing system.setProperty. This is to tell to the system that you are going to use Chrome driver, and this line is to open Chrome instance, and you have the control with the dr now. So whatever name you will give. So dr, now you can open a website. So you can say dr.get, and inside that you can put the website address. So as of now we have a local website, this one, practice.html. So I am giving the path of my own system, and that is practice, sorry, spelling mistake, practice.html, practice. Okay, so that will open that particular web page. And after that, in the practice.html, I want to put username. So here I have to do send keys. Whenever you see a text box, probably we have to do the send keys on that. So how to inspect it? Right click anywhere. You can do this thing also. Right click anywhere in the page, click on the inspect, and then you can click on this arrow icon and put your mouse to a particular web element where you want to search the code behind it. So if I click here, this is showing me that the code behind that text box is input type is equals to text, id is equals to name. Okay, input type is equals to text, id is equals to uname. That's fine. So one way is very simple. I can write dr dot find element by dot id, and that id is uname, and I can say send keys, and here I can provide anything like, let's say, testology learning, something like that. So this is a very simple code, because if you know the id, so if the id is unique also, so for example, if I want to check whether this id is equals to uname is present only once in this page, so I'm doing a control C, control F. So it's saying me there are two places where uname is used, where it has been used. So I'm clicking here. So in one of the script it is used, but that is not a web element, right? This is under a script. As a element only, this is the place where it is used. Okay, as an element, this is the place where it is used. id is equals to uname. So I can use it, and let's run it to check whether it is working. So let's see. This is opening that. Yeah, it is putting testology learning. See here, automated code has done this. That's fine. That means it's working. But for today's session, we don't want to use ID. We want to use Xpath. So as I said, Xpath is some kind of address. Right? How we put our address when we want to send, let's say, a parcel. How we create the address, right? So whenever you send a parcel from one place to another place, right? You write it with your name, and then flat number, then your building number, and then area code, your city name, your state name, your country name, correct? So probably if I want to put a random address, that probably I'll write, let's say, Nitesh, and then flat number something, let's say 111. Then probably we will write, then let's say building name, is equals to, let's say, Ganga, and then we will write area. Area is, let's say, any area we can put. So in, I'm taking one of the Pune's area is Kharadi, and then I can say city is equals to Pune, and then you put a pin code is equals to something 411014, and then you say state is equals to MH, then you say country is equals to India, something like this. Okay, so generally this is a kind of address, right? This is the way you write it. But actually what happens when the postman will see this thing, or the postal department will see this thing, they will decode it from the end. They will not decode it by your name. They don't care what is your name. That will be at the delivery time. Let's say if somebody is sending me parcel from USA, okay, or let's say some other state. Let's say somebody is sending me parcel from Chennai to this Pune. So how the postal department will work? They will not see my name. They will check actually which state we want to deliver. Then they will check, okay, pin code is this. That means city is this. Then they will, once it will reach to our city, then they will decode it further that, okay, this parcel has to be delivered in somewhere in Kharadi. Okay, where, this building name, this flat name, and then they will care about whether that flat number is matching with my name, right? So this is a kind of address hierarchy. In the same way, whenever you see an element in the web page, it has one hierarchy. Every element has some kind of address. Every element has its own address. How to get that address? So there are a lot of tools available in the market, but there is a default thing also. So if I right click here and if I go to the copy, here is copy Xpath. There is an option copy Xpath. So browser itself is providing us to do getting the Xpath. So if I copy this and I will put it somewhere here, let's say, so this is saying this is your XPath. See, we don't have to do a lot of effort to create the XPath, right? But we have to understand what it is saying. We have to understand what kind of XPath it has created. So this is a kind of relative XPath, okay? Relative XPath. This is not, so there are two kind of XPath. One is absolute XPath and one is relative XPath. So one is absolute XPath, okay, and another one is relative XPath. Okay. So what is so if I give the real world example, what is absolute XPath? This is a kind of absolute XPath where you're mentioning everything from the origin. So let's say this is origin, okay, then so if I decode this, I will write it like this: India slash mh slash 411014 slash Pune slash Radi slash Ganga slash 111 slash Nitesh, right? This is a kind of way where I can get, okay, where a person lives, right? India, inside India, there is a state, then there is a pin code, in that there is a city, or maybe I'm giving just a random example. It can be Pune and then pin code, that is also fine. Then Kharadi, and then there is a society name, then there is a flat number, then there is a person number. So it's a kind of address, complete address. So in the same way, in the web page, you have two kind of address. One is the complete address and one is the relative address. So instead of writing this, I can have my relative address also. My relative address can be, let's say, near Taj Mahal, right? I'm just giving a random example, near Taj Mahal, right? Because a particular place is already famous. So do I have to mention that I live in India? No. Do I have to mention that it's under Agra city, right? I don't have to mention because you found something which is relative to the address, right? We found something, or you, so my simple address, let's say if I live in Agra, right? I'll put it like near Taj Mahal, and then I'll put my city, my society address, and then 111, and then Nitish, right? So that will be, it is shortening my address, right? So I'm giving just a real world example, but we have to see the um, web element example. So what we saw as this particular example, which is a kind of relative XPath. Why this is relative XPath? Because absolute XPath, I'm writing it here. Absolute XPath starts with HTML. Okay. Absolute XPath will start from the parent. So the parent of the whole web page is HTML tag. See here, there is HTML tag. So what we are seeing here is just a relative XPath. We'll see both the example. Let's see first absolute XPath. So this one is particularly relative XPath. If we want to get the absolute XPath, you can simply again inspect that element and right click here in that element code, copy, and there is a copy full XPath. So if I copy that, then let me paste it here. So this is my full absolute XPath. This is absolute XPath. And it's very simple. It's not a very complex concept to understand. What it is saying, start with the HTML, then go to the body. So it's like it's child. In the body, go to the input tag and the first input tag. It's like this. So I'll show you the code. So if you observe this code, there is a HTML tag. Then head is started here, head is end here, and then there is a body. So that means body is the direct child of HTML tag. Perfect. Inside the body, there are a lot of elements, h1, a, input. So input is the direct child of body. Then input has lots of other elements, tags. Input tag is not unique here. So that's why if I say HTML body input one, that means it's a complete address for the first input text box or first input tag actually. How to verify whether it's a correct XPath or not? Copy this and put it here. Same way, there is a, in the element tab, you have one box here. If I put here, see here, once I put it, both things are getting highlighted. One, the element, second is the, if I hit it, see here, that is getting highlighted. Okay. So let's see whether other things we can find out on our own without using right click, copy and copy full path. Without that also you can create your own absolute XPath. How to make it? It's very simple. Let's say if I want to click on gender female. Okay, I want to click on this second radio button, right? So let's find it. We are not inspecting it. We will simply copy this code, right? Copy, you can copy the whole code from here. Okay, but that's a tedious job. That's why there are a lot of, you know, plugins available to find the XPath. We'll talk about it later on, but actually we should know how to create it on our own. So I'm going to the code. Let's say I have copied my code here, and let's find out that where is the second radio button. Okay, where is the second radio button? Here is the second radio, that female radio button is present here. Fine. Let's find out what is its hierarchy. So if you see here, HTML is there, then there is a head, then there is a script, then there is a style, then there is a body. In the body somewhere this is present. Okay, fine. So how I can create the XPath for this radio is starting from the HTML slash body. Why I'm not doing HTML head? Because head is started here and somewhere it is end is done for the head. That radio button is actually inside the body, right? So HTML, then there is a child body, then in the body there is a child input, but there are three input radio box, so I have to write input 2. So I'm creating it and I'm not finding it. We will directly write it somewhere. So to find that female radio button, we will write, let's say HTML slash body, just a minute, HTML slash body. Inside that I'm going to the code back. There is input type radio. So I cannot write input 2 because there is this input, the first input tag is here, then there is second one, and then there is third one, right? So it's better to find out input tag which has type is equals to radio actually, right? So we'll go to the here and we will write body where there is the input tag, and then you can put the attributes. So where exactly the type is equals to radio. Okay, so if I write it here, but then it will find out the first one. Let's copy this and put it here. So that particular part will get highlighted. So if you see here, when I did this, observe at the left side. Okay, so one by one it is selecting, one by one it is selecting, because all three elements are input type is equals to radio, right? So if I want to find out a particular one, so I'm putting 2 here. So if I put 2, that will hit to the female radio button only. So I'm copying this. I'll show you again. So instead of this, I'm writing this. So what is the meaning of this? Start with the HTML, go to the body, child, and then there is a child input. Then find out that input which has the type is equals to radio. So this is the way. At the rate means attribute. So attribute type is equals to radio. And which one? The second radio you have to find out. So this one is absolute XPath for that particular radio button. And let's talk about the relative XPath now. So if you see here, this relative XPath start with double slash. Starts with double slash. Double slash means anywhere in the HTML code. Slash means starting from the root. Single slash means starting from the root, the parent element, the first root parent element. Double slash means anywhere in the. Then what is the star? Star means any tag. Star means any tag. If you know the tag name, so here if I know there is a tag name called input, then you should put here input. If you don't care, okay, any tag, star means any tag, where ID is uname. It's like this. So we are going back to this example where if we search this particular text box, the first name, the username thing, if you see here, it's the input tag where type is equals to text, ID is equals to uname, right? So this is the same thing. It's saying that find out a tag which has ID is as uname. It's like this. So I can use this. I can use this also. Anything we can use. Let's use both. So one by one we'll do it. So we will write here dr dot find element by dot xpath, and you have to put the xpath expression. And let me comment out this one because we want to find out through xpath dot send keys, and here I am putting, let's say, test. Okay, done. And let's use another thing for female, this one, this radio button. And for that, the complete XPath is copy full XPath. We have already written, but let's see what it is saying. Okay, so this is saying in another way. So this is saying that HTML body find the third input. That is also fine, but this is more clear. What we have written on our own, what is suggested by the dev tool, right? Don't like over rely on that. That's perfectly fine, but your XPath should be in a way that anybody can understand it. So this is very much understandable that there is an input tag whose type is radio, and we want to find the second radio button. Okay, so we will use this one, and we can write it here dr dot find element by dot xpath, and xpath expression is this dot click, because radio button we want to do a click. Okay, so this is how xpath you can write. I explained that why there is an index 3. Let's understand why it was showing index 3, because if you see here in the body, this username is also an input tag. So this is the first one, this is the radio button is the second one, and this second radio button is the third one. So if you don't care that what is the type then of that input tag, then you can write this, right? But if you care about that we want the type is equals to radio, then actually that input, the second radio button is actually the female one which we want to find out, right? This way it is not clear that which input tag is, it the text box, is it the radio button, what it is, right? So if you don't care about what kind of, whether it's a radio button or text box, then use this, right? But this is more clear. Okay, so let's run that program and check whether it is working or not. So let's run this. Yeah, this is filling me this test and it has selected female. So very fast because it won't take much time to do all these things. Done. Then we want to click on the submit button. So let's find out the XPath for that submit button. Okay. Now I'm going here and let's inspect this submit button. Okay, showing me some problem. I'm changing the view. So I want to inspect this submit button, and this is the code for the submit button. Input type is equals to button, value is equals to submit, ID is equals to ABC, on click is equals to something. Okay, I want to get the XPath for that. So it's again simple, right click here, copy XPath, right? You can copy XPath or full XPath. So this time I'm copying XPath, and let's put it here to check whether it is working or not. So this is saying find out one tag, any tag which has ID is equals to ABC, right? But then you can create your own XPath also, right? So here, instead of writing star, if I go to the code, Actually, that is input type is equals to button, right? And ID is equals to ABC. So I can write here at star, I can put input. So the meaning of this absolute relative XPath is slash slash means anywhere in the code, find one tag, input tag, which has ID is equals to ABC. It's like this. So I can use this one. I'm doing a copy, and first we have to check whether it is correct or not. So you can put it here. So you can put here to check whether it is correct. So when I put it, see here, it's getting highlighted. The button is getting highlighted, and the particular part in the HTML code is also getting highlighted. So I can write it here. Let's say dr dot find element by dot xpath and this particular xpath. So actually we should use single quote. Okay, don't use the double quote for the attribute values. Dot click, because we want to click there. Fine. After that, let's wait for 2 seconds. And then after that, what we want to achieve, we want to check that paragraph value is correct or not correct. So let's find out for that. So once you click on the submit, it should say me welcome this. So remember I said that everything, whatever you see in a web page is an element, is a web element. So let's inspect this. Welcome Nitesh. So this is saying that, let me again inspect it. So this is saying this is your paragraph ID is equals to message. PID is equals to message. PID is equals to message. So let's understand now about CSS selector. So how to create CSS selector for any element. See here, I can use Xpath also. If I want to create the Xpath for this particular element, let me show you in other view. So I'm going to the element. See here, the element is PID is equals to message. So it's very simple to create it. It's like slash find one P tag where ID is equals to MSG. So that will be MSG. So P where at the rate ID is equals to MSG. So let's see whether it is correct or not. Copy this, put it here, and yeah, it is getting highlighted. So that means it's correct. So I can use that. So I can write here dr dot find element by dot again xpath. If I'm using xpath expression, PID is equals to this. Okay, so that is, well, you can store that in a particular elements. If I write web element, message is equals to this, and I can write then a string because I want to get the text of that element. So I can say message text is equals to this particular message element dot get text, because what I want to do with that element, I want to get the text of that element. This particular element, what I want to do with this element, I want to get the text of this, correct? So how we will write it, we will capture that element in one of the element, and then we will say message dot get text, and we will store it in a string, and we will print it, let's say. So we'll print message text. Okay, and let's run this. Then we will see how to make CSS selector actually. So it's running, it's opening, it was very fast. So everything is done. It's saying welcome test because we put the username as test, we selected female, we clicked here, and then it is showing us. Okay, I'm closing this. Okay. Now the question is how to use CSS selector. So let's say if I don't want to use the XPath, what else I can use? So I'm just commenting this. Let me put it in another row. So CSS selects. First of all, what is CSS selector? So CSS selector, as the name suggested, is you can find an element through its CSS properties, right? You can find an element using its CSS properties. So CSS selector is like finding element using CSS properties. So CSS property doesn't mean just the color or the style. It's not like that. Whatever attribute you see is also CSS property. Whatever tag name you see, that is also a CSS properties. Okay. So if I want to get the CSS for this particular welcome Nitesh message, I can again inspect it, let's say. And if you see here, it is already giving me one shortcut, p hash message. That also you can use, but it is a little bit complex for you as of now. I'll explain this one also. So see where my mouse is here, p hash message. That is also one of the CSS selector you can use, but don't use it as of now. So what we can do is, once you get it, right click here, copy, copy, copy selector. So I'm copying it, and don't over rely on this. It's saying hash message. It's very simple, but don't use it as of now. Okay, I'll explain what is hash and what is message. What we should do actually, right click here on the element here, copy outer HTML, and put it in your notepad, and this will give me a code. PID is equals to message welcome Nitesh. Some kind of thing is coming here, and convert it to CSS selector. So what you can do is delete this part. It's not required because there is a text and there is an end of the paragraph that is not required. So if I want to convert this particular element as a CSS selector, see, it's very easy. Keep the tag as it is, put a rectangular bracket, and say ID is equals to single quote, convert the double quote to single quote, and done. So what we are saying here is, find a tag whose name is P and ID is message. But when you are doing a CSS selector, you don't have to write @ for the attribute. Second thing is, you don't have to write slash or 2 times slash. It's very simple. Tag name and all the attribute which you want to list. So if I write it here, if I want to find out by CSS selector, my expression will be this, and PID is equals to message. That's it. Okay. And the same thing will work. So I'm not running it as of now. And in between there was an alert actually. So when we clicked on that button, actually there was one alert getting open. So we should close that alert. So I'll explain you. As of now, I'm just writing. You can write driver dot switch to dot alert dot accept. So this is the code to accept that alert, right? I'll explain you. Maybe in our 5th or 6th session we will learn about the alert. But I just want to close it. That's why I have written this code. So let's run this, and this should print welcome test, because on the first text box it is going to put test. Yeah, it's taking time. So it is not printing, it's printing. So it's saying welcome test here. Okay, it is saying whether it is printed. Yeah, see here the text we are able to print it in console because we have written this code. Message is equals to driver.find elements by CSS selector this and then this. Okay. Let's understand with one more example about CSS selector. So let's assume that I want to put the address here in the text area. So let's create the CSS selector for this element. Let's go here and do it here. And this is saying me the code is this: text area row is equals to 4, calls is equals to 50. So copy this, copy outer HTML, put it somewhere in your notepad, and I want to convert it to CSS selector. See how easy it is. Delete the end part, okay, not required. Delete this arrow, okay. So text area is the tag name. Then whatever attributes you have, put it inside this rectangular brackets. Rows is equals to 4. Rows is equals to 4. Close the rectangular bracket, and calls is equals to 50. Okay. So this is how this CSS selector is created. To check it whether it is correct or not, copy it, go to your web page, okay, and now put it the CSS selector here. I have put it. See, both the things are getting highlighted. That means it's correct. If the element which you are finding is getting highlighted, that means it's working fine. So I can use it. So I'm copying this and I will say here, let's say web element ADR is equals to dr dot find element by dot CSS selector, putting it here, okay. And then once you get that element, once you have that element with you, you want to do send keys. So I'll do ADR dot send keys. My address will come here. Check, right? I'm writing a big string here. So this should work. So see here, we are putting text area where row is 4, row attribute value is 4, calls attribute value is 50. How simple it is, right? And it's true. If you go to the code, actually, if you see this text area has row is equals to 4, calls is equals to 50. The same thing we have written in the code, but there is a simple way, like putting the tag name and all the attribute. You can put it like this, and you can use one attribute, two attribute. So it's not like that you have to use all the attributes. You can delete it. So until you are able to find an element in a unique way, if this element is unique where rows is equals to 4, then also it's fine. You can use the combination of the attribute also. So I'm using row is 4 and call is also 50. It's like this. So let's see if it is working. I am running this and let's see. Yes, see here it is putting the address in the text area, that text which we have sent. Okay, let me take some of the questions which you have asked and then we will discuss it. So now, which is more reliable and recommended, absolute XPath or relative XPath? So absolute XPaths are generally very long. So this is a very simple website, right? That's why it was very simple to find out, correct? Let's open amazon.com, amazon.in. Let's say if you'll open this website and I want to get the XPath of a particular element. So let's say I want to get the XPath of this particular product, this mixer grinder. So I do a right click, inspect the element, and this is the mixer one. Okay, and I want to get the full XPath. So I'm copying full XPath and let's put it in Notepad. See how big it is? It's a very big thing. And generally for one sophisticated programmer or experienced test automation engineer, it's very easy for them to understand, okay, it's HTML, then there is a body, then there is a div tag, first div tag, inside that go to the second div tag, inside that go to the second div tag. It's a big hierarchy, and then there is an image at the end. That is a particular absolute XPath for that, right? So there is no thumb rule that you should use always absolute XPath or always relative XPath, right? If your page is pretty stable, right? There is no dynamic content, then you can use absolute XPath also. But that is not the case in real world, right? Generally, if you talk about Amazon, let's say, right, today here is one product. Tomorrow, maybe they will delete the whole product, right? They don't want this particular section, top trending product. They don't want to show. Then the whole hierarchy will be disturbed. Then the whole hierarchy of products and their XPath will be changed. So that is why generally we do not use the absolute XPath. So relative XPath is, we can say we should use relative XPath because two reasons. One is it is short, and second is why to go through the whole hierarchy if I'm able to find out this element in a unique way. There is an anchor tag and there is an image tag. If I'm able to find out this through some other way, like writing a, and then there is one, let's say img, where at the rate some property, right? I'm not writing everything here. Some property is equals to some value. So if you can able to find out one element through relative XPath, then use it, right? Instead of using a full XPath like this. Okay. And the next question is, can we use multiple attributes in relative XPath? Yes. So multiple attributes can be used. So our example was using just one. So CSS selector, I have shown you how to use multiple attributes. So our example was this. So this is for the relative XPath for finding the username text box. So here also you can use it. So there is a particular way to put and operator and to use more than one attribute, that we will see tomorrow about how to use multiple attributes in relative XPath. Can we modify the absolute XPath and make it short for identification of objects? So the thing is, if you will shorten the absolute XPath, that will not be called the absolute XPath, right? So absolute XPath is the address. It's a complete address, right? So if you are shortening it, that means you are making it as a relative XPath, right? Absolute XPath means the absolute address, exact address, starting from the country name and then going to the state and then a particular city, then pin code. So that is called absolute address, correct? So if you are shortening it, that means it's not absolute address, it's a relative address, right? No, but if you're asking if it's an interview question, let's say, can you shorten the absolute XPath? No, the answer is no. Absolute XPath is absolute XPath. We cannot shorten it. So somebody is asking, when we use XPath as selector, any specific reason for using XPath as selector? So XPath we can use anytime. So the reason is, see again I'm repeating this. Reason is we want to find an element to work on it, right? Now it's up to you. If you have ID as a unique value for an element, use it, right? If you want to use combination of two attributes, one or more attributes, uh, for any kind of selector, XPath or CS selector, use it. So there is no particular reason that we should use XPath or CSS selector. The thing is, we have to identify an element uniquely. Use it, whatever is good. What will be the relative XPath for Amazon example? So that we have to find out. It's a big thing, right? So here, the same thing. Either I have to, understand the whole hierarchy of this HTML code. That's really difficult, but you can make it, no, your own. Click here, right click here, copy. There is XPath. I copied it, and let me see what it is saying. So this is saying this. So it's, see here, it's a little bit short. It's not very much short, but it is starting from somewhere when it was able to find one unique thing, right? Some tag where ID is this, and then going to the second div, and then div, and then there is an unordered list, and there is a list first element, then there is a span, then there is an anchor tag, then there is an image. It's like creating. We can also create, if we are aware of the whole HTML page, we can also create it, right? So what is the difference between double slash and slash? So as I said, when you say a single slash, it is starting from the root, and we use it for absolute path. And we say slash, that means we know that there is a child after the HTML, there is a body child, and then there is an immediate child div one. Then for the div one, there is a immediate child, we have to go to the div two. It's like this. And we say double slash means anywhere in the page, find out one anchor tag. It's like this. So double slash means any child. So if I say in a very simple language, slash means immediate child. So if I say here India MH 41101 Pune Kharadi, so it's like immediate child. India has an immediate child state. State has one immediate child, then immediate, right? If I write in a double slash way, I will directly say, if let's say there is only one Ganga society in the whole India, so I can write it Ganga directly, okay? And then I can write single slash and then Nitesh. So let's understand, this is my full address and this is my short address. So if this Ganga society, let me write it society also so that it will be clear what I'm saying. So let's say if this Ganga society is only one in the whole India, right? So I can find my address in this way also, that go to the Ganga society 111 Nitesh. So they don't have to search through this, because there is only unique Ganga society available in the whole India or in the whole world. So I can write my relative X path in this way and my full path in this way.